Hello, beautiful friends. My name is Alicia Rose. I'm the founder of the Rose Composite, and this is Ask Alicia and Friends. This series, we are talking with different spirits that are around and just doing some channeling to also with the hope of sharing some more general knowledge. So, if other people are on their path in some way, that they can get some guidance on how to better communicate and get information with their intuition and all that. So, um, my website is roseco.co. Definitely look there for some more information. If you'd like to join us live, go to calendly.com/rosecomposite. The third Wednesdays of every month at 6 p.m. Pacific time, we have a live discussion group. More often than not, it's also we have another guest, either a psychic or someone who's doing some kind of work in this realm in some way. And I'm so excited for that because it's really an opportunity for you to, in the moment, ask questions and be a part of the discussion. At least right now, those aren't recorded, so it's a much more private group on that day. And if you aren't already on my email list, please join there. Again, you can go to roseco.co to sign up for that. That is where you will be able to have access to information about giveaways, where I am in person, if you want to come do an in-person reading or see me speak at an event live, and all kinds of other updates. We're always doing fun new things, so that's the best place to stay in touch of what the latest and greatest is. Definitely look to the YouTube channel, Ali Rose 359, and also my Instagram, Ali Rose 359. That is where I am most active. So if you want to see what I'm doing, that's where to check it out. Um, so I know we did this session or this series of 5 episodes, and I just got done recording one about my grandma Benson, and wasn't really sure who our last one would be about. And as luck would have it, everything comes to us, right? It's such a joy to be on this path and doing this work. So I know I wanted to say it was the third session. We talked with Lolita Hummingbird. She was so wonderful. Um, and so actually, she just brought her friend Jessica Finch over. Jessica is a Finch. And so remember how I talked about sometimes we are um, just giving last names as identifiers. So Miss Jessica Finch came up here. Um, she's so cute. So she's talking about how just getting started, right? Um, she's talking about how her and Lolita hang out a lot because both their husbands have passed away, so they really became stronger friends. But she is a lot has a lot lighter, um, kind of more jovial, uh, uh, um, kind of like a childlike energy about her, and so she really wants to speak to our futures. She's so just so loving and airy. She reminds me of bluebirds, how they flutter around in groups and they're um, just very light and airy. So Miss Jessica, she she is really talking to this beautiful future that's coming to fruition, and she's saying that at least right now, most people don't have a full awareness of where the world is going and how the universe is changing. She's saying that a lot of things are coming to light for us right now, and we're learning a lot of things. So she's so grateful that we're doing this series to kind of just spark some ideas and spark some interest with the viewers. If you are seeing this, you're meant to see this. You're on this path with me, and we are so grateful for these opportunities to really move into a new way of living. Um, she's talking about unconditional love and um, how more often than not, especially in America where I live in the United States, so many people don't believe that unconditional love is available to them, and they also don't believe that they are like worthy, or that like they believe they must work for the love to occur. And she wants to really just, like cross that out, put a line in the sand, stop thinking that, because that's no longer true in the budding universe that is being restructured and recreated, if you will. And she's saying that in allowing yourself to believe something new, you are able to experience something new. And she wants us to really channel in and line up with this new reality where there is this universal love available to us at all times, wherever we are. And uh, that if we believe life is hard or unavailable to us in some way, um, there's really no way for us to experience that. And so, in believing is how we see. Belief is the first step. And, it's not like I'm sitting here being like, oh no, this wall is blue. You're mistaken. It's not white, but it's saying that this wall could be blue. One day I might wake up and decide to paint the wall blue. And I believe that this could happen, right? I believe that the change can occur. And it's however we want, however much we decide and desire to occur will occur. And it's this beautiful opportunity for us to decide to live differently than we have in the past, and to decide to be and behave and to act and to experience so much more differently than we have in the past. Um, so Miss Jessica Finch, she is telling us all that she loves us and she always has our back. If you are watching this, I know my grandma Benson just said this. I recorded these sessions the same day. So my grandma Benson just said this earlier, and Jessica Finch is open. She says they have different audiences, but they are both open and willing to help. Jessica Finch, her real desire, she wants people to talk with animals more, and not only the wood folk and the wildlife, because she says I talk with them all the time. I go out almost every day on the porch and multiple times, and talk with different birds and beings who are out there. And of course, my cat Monkey gets some talkings too sometimes as well. Um, and so she wants to really remind everybody that no matter where they are and what is going on, nature is always there for them, and that nature is one of the best places to start interacting. I know we talked about how in those quiet places sometimes it's easier to hear the subtle energies of spirit, and she wants to remind you that nature is that place too, any time of day or night, any season, no matter what. Nature is a wonderful opportunity for us to go and listen in to the quietude and to better understand it. She's talking to, finches usually fly in groups, and she's saying that just a loving reminder, no matter how alone you feel, know that you are flying in a group, especially if you're watching this video. Even if we've never met before, you are a part of my group. You are a part of my soul interaction, my soul plane here. And so you are always welcome to reach out to me, and to also know that, now that we live in this world where we have the internet and we have Facebook and all these different social media um, outlets, we are so blessed to be able to connect with people who aren't necessarily right in front of us. And she's kind of showing me, back in the day, with wagons and stuff, she's like, you had to like go see somebody. You couldn't, or like send a letter maybe. And she's kind of showing me how the birds kind of communicate messages um, through kind of like passing them around, like a game of telephone. And she wants us to realize too that a lot of this spiritual communication is similar to that, and to have an understanding of these translations, I guess I would call them, because and she's pointing to me too. So very much so, I am translating for her in this way. But she wants us to know that sometimes, like, if we're not, if we have stronger relationships with certain types of spirits, and she's saying, our ancestors, oftentimes we have very strong relationships with, or our pets, or those spirits that are around us, our spirit guides and angels and things like that. She's saying that sometimes, they're just translating messages from other sources, and that she really wants us to understand this all-encompassing energy, which is simultaneously everything and nothing at once. It's this idea of the void where everything is created out of darkness and nothingness, and that we are able to tap into this universal knowledge, this divine knowledge. And if you're familiar with that idea, the Akashic records, it's very similar. Well, it is that. That's just another term for it, right? And so she's wanting for us to really have this beautiful understanding that all that is and all that exists is there, while simultaneously it is elsewhere, right? And so in us living our true expression, our fullest expression, to our most unique way of being, we are also inherently able to know all these other things that exist, because we know that we are not them, right? So and I'm going to use kind of like silly, simple examples. In knowing that I have blonde hair, um, I know that I am not brown haired. But remember, I also then am able to know that I'm not black haired, I'm not redheaded. There's all these other colors, and now that people can dye their hair too, I don't have purple or green, or there are unlimited possibilities of things that I am not, in knowing that I am blonde. And so the understanding here is that, and again, your hair color is kind of an arbitrary example, but I want you to start to see how this can be applied to literally any other identity that you might align with or have coherence with, because in knowing what I am, all of a sudden there are unlimited possibilities and unlimited potentials of what I am not. And I can go out tomorrow and dye my hair black, and then all of a sudden there's still unlimited potentials that I am not, even though I have changed who I am in that way. And so the idea here is to have this beautiful awareness that there are unlimited possibilities and unlimited paths and potentials and expansions that exist, and you get to choose which one you follow. And so the same way is true, and I'm going to use job occupations, because I think that's a broader um, spectrum. And actually, so she's talking. She wants me to switch gears all of a sudden. So we'll come back to that. She's really talking about brighter futures and brighter pastures, and she's just wanting to tell you guys. And she's joking around like, I don't pay rent. I'm a bird. Like, what the heck? and she wants us to understand that so many of these societal structures are falling apart, and so many of the ways that we currently identify ourselves and the ways that we currently put ourselves into these boxes, I'll call them. Come on, baby. So many of these things are only true in the moment that they were true in, right? And so the same way we're talking about hair color, and I decide to go dye my hair tomorrow. Now I used to be blonde-headed, but now I'm dark-headed, or dark-haired. Um, there is this incredible reality where we have this this fortitude and this strength to change, where she's really encouraging us to um, kind of do a self-reflection, do a self-review, a life review of who you are and how you act, and what your identifiers are, because there is this incredible development available in saying, and not necessarily that you have to speak it or write it or know it, but do know that when you speak or write things, or even share things with other people, it really, on an energetic level, um, it densifies it. It creates it. Even this video has a stamp in time where people, for years to come, can go watch this and understand this messaging. It's very, very special, because even if, you know, I had something where I was thinking, um, like maybe I identify as a procrastinator, and maybe it's causing all these issues in my life because I'm not fully, showing up and moving things forward as much as I could. And the reality is that if I'm kind of wishy-washy about that, and if I'm like denying that I'm a procrastinator, well, I'm not able to work with that energy to change and transmute it. Where if I were to show up and sit down and say, "Oh yeah, I am really good at procrastinating. I procrastinate a lot, and here's some examples of how." I've seen things take longer to be accomplished because I've been procrastinating. Well, now I can say, great, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be a procrastinator anymore. Or maybe I love it and I keep wanting to do it and I choose to keep doing it, right? But more often than not, we know what we want and we know what we don't want, and oftentimes we're just pushing away these ideas of things that we don't want, and this could be akin to shadow work. And the idea here is in really illuminating that. And again, this is just our example, and saying, I am a huge procrastinator and I want to change that. Now I'm able to bring that energy in, shift it around, and say, I'm going to address things as they come up, or I'm going to get more organized and have a calendar and give myself due dates. And, everybody has different things that work for them, right? You can find the strategies that work for you. But in identifying as a procrastinator, I can say, now I'm going to transmute this into being a diligent, the opposite of a procrastinator, a diligent person in my duties. And so what Jessica really wants us to understand is that there is this beauty in this observation and knowing what is going on. And so often we are kind of either denying or asleep to the things that are there. And if we are able to really recognize those wholeheartedly, we're then able to work with those energies and shift them into something that is better serving us, better aligned, or more helpful on our path. Because ultimately, um, we are growing through time in this physical iteration. So often you can think that the only constant similarity we have with life forms here on earth is that we are born and we die, and there's this time in between. And when you kind of simplify our existence to such a grain of salt, we are able in making it mean absolutely nothing. It simultaneously means everything, because now all of a sudden, all you have is this moment in time, right? We don't have 5 million years from now to figure out what we want to do. We have this moment in time right now to decide how we are going to act, how we are going to spend this time, and how we are going to live out our highest expression of self. So maybe I will go dye my hair tomorrow. Um, because if you are, and this can be with anything, if you have this goal to be something different, that it inherently gives you the opportunity to bring that back and align and identify what you are today, so then you can transmute and shift that into what you want to be in the future. So it's this really beautiful, incredible opportunity. So Jessica, kind of shifting gears, is really wanting to talk to this network of existence that occurs. And she's talking about, so for me, I'm very telepathic. I get messages, I'm able to talk with many beings. But she wants, and she's kind of showing me like a spider web, or like images of the brain where there's these synapses and these like trees, um, or webs of information. And it's almost like if you kind of think about your neighborhood, and every single person in your neighborhood has all this like information and wealth and energy. And then, as we communicate, as we talk, we're able to share information through individuals in that way. And then we kind of have this broader level of collective consciousness, which is, and a great example that I think is, in history, you see two people on different sides of the world inventing similar things at the same time, right? That could be thought of as collective consciousness, because it's this reality where we are tapped into information where, without really knowing how we have it. And the importance there to recognize is that this information is like flooding in, to our abilities, to our capabilities in that way. And it's a beautiful opportunity for us to allow ourselves to learn things more steadily. And these are things that we know, but we again are just kind of, um, we're ignorant to them because we don't analyze them, we don't think about them, right? So as much as we know that like heat rises and gravity exists, and things like this, we are living in a realm that is impacted by these natural laws, where we see the outcomes of them, we see how they work, and we have a subconscious knowing of that, and we don't really recognize that consciously yet, right? And so again, blonde hair is kind of arbitrary, but I was just born with blonde hair. It's not like I sat there and analyzed it a whole bunch. And so then, and at least like, right there, as I was growing up, there was such a strong um, like cultural view of like blondes versus brunettes, and what does that mean? Well, blondes are dumb, but brunettes are, mysteriously smart, and da da da. Like there were all these connotations with your hair color. And like, even if you just think about that a little bit, to say that everyone or everything is this way, that's just not true. There are unlimited possibilities, there are unlimited permutations in existence. And so it's less about subscribing these um, opinions onto other people, these beliefs, right? You know, if I really wholeheartedly believe that all blondes were dumb, then that would only be what I see, only be what I perceive. So it's really important to recognize that we are in a time and age um, of trying new things, of believing new things, of changing how we interact with our realities. Because if we start to um, believe things differently, they will occur differently. And so, some examples that I'm thinking, right? We just came off of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I mean, it's still going on really to some extent. Um, However, you know, and oftentimes it's like equated with like the Spanish flu in the 1920s, right? But if we sat there and I think to a certain regard, nobody believed that a pandemic was going to happen, right? Um, and when it occurred, we're like kind of figuring out how to deal with that, not only on like a societal level, but on a very personal level. Like, is it safe to X, Y, and Z, you know, whatever it is? And um, and the reality is that we are always safe if we simply believe that we are always safe, that we are always provided for, that we are always divinely guided, that at all times we have this beautiful benefit available to us to keep trying the new things, to keep seeking after our new desires. They will come to fruition. And it's this confidence of this faithfulness, really, a confident faithfulness that gives us these beautiful opportunities to have this connection with the other realms. And and it's so valid to have all the feelings over this. It's so valid, but it's also this like treasure to keep exploring and to keep learning and to keep seeing new things and new experiences. And you are blessed to keep moving forward. And I'm reminded too of that something about bicycles, right? Like in order to balance on a bike, you have to keep moving forward. And so no matter what, whatever kind of comes into your path, if you are very serious about your goal, if you're serious about what you desire, manifestation is kind of the buzzword right now. If you're serious about your manifestations coming to fruition, you must keep moving forward. That is the way that they happen. It is in confidently dedicating your energy and your awareness to that desire. And pursuing it until it exists in your material realm. Um, okay, so Miss Jessica, what else are we talking about? Um, yeah, she's really talking to just giving humans some lessons right now, and she's saying especially Americans, especially where I live. This is kind of the point where um, messages are coming through for me specifically, but also for the collective, for my community around me, um, and whatnot. So she's showing me like bears, right? Bears go hibernate all winter long and then come back out of hibernation in the spring. And so she's really wanting just to like remind us, especially in this season of winter, to care for ourselves and to also be gentle. It's okay to take a break. We don't need to be in this hustle mode 24/7, do. It's much more valuable to kind of move with the seasons and to align with these stronger energies that exist, because what we're doing then is allowing ourselves that rest and recovery time so that we can go back to work and to do things more strongly. And she's speaking to COVID-19 really being, like a universal response to like, you need to like slow down, get quiet, and have some alone time. And so she wants us to understand, from the same thing has unlimited perceptions around it, right? So the same thing can be perceived as negative or positive depending on where our standpoint is. And so she wants us to really come back to that 0 point, come back to that neutrality and that understanding that everything is neutral, everything is truly neutral. And from that quantum perspective, in getting to that 0 point and getting to that point of neutrality, that's where all shift and change can occur instantly. And so if you're desiring that instantaneous change, you really want to master coming into that point of neutrality, so that and basically what you're doing and coming to that point of neutrality is you are giving yourself, and this is not a technical term, a clean slate. You're giving yourself kind of this point of uh, I want to say condensation, this point of condensing and becoming so small that you allow your entire environment, everything around you, to energetically shift instantly, and then you grow again and kind of recreate yourself in this way. And it's actually an old yogic ideal, to be able to shift your energy into the size of a proton, to get so small at that molecular level. And that's really the idea behind here, right? Because our sciences haven't quite fully gotten there. But what's coming about is that time is not linear. And so we have these availabilities to kind of shift and move the fabric of time, almost if you think of it like a table clock, right? You can pull certain experiences so they last longer, or things can go very quickly if you want to condense them. And it's this idea that you can shift the expansiveness of time. Well, that also occurs for space, right? And so you can shift and move things in a way, and remember, here in the world that we consciously live in, for the most part, we subscribe to this idea that time and space are locked, right? And what I mean by that is a minute is a minute, an hour is an hour is 60 minutes, and so on. We have very quantitative views of time, and then on space on the other side. Again, we're in the United States, so a mile is a mile. That's 5,000 and something feet. But similarly, like a kilometer or a meter, or these measures are very specific. Here's your ruler, and it is the same for everybody that we're subscribing to. But what Jessica really wants you to understand is it is not the same. You have to throw that idea out the window if you want to play in the quantum game, because what is happening is that time is really aligned with the speed of light, and space very similarly as well, is aligned with how we measure things. And she's basically saying that we are operating under these fixed assumptions that are not true any longer. These fixed assumptions are changing, and as science progresses, as more information is developed, and at least in my society, in the society that I live in right now, we have a very high threshold for when we accept something as true. So, even if you think of like Newtonian physics, a lot of that is based on theories. That has not actually been proven. It's not considered law, right? And law is a whole nother thing, because if you think about, um, the living law, the legal system we live in, it's really based on precedents, right? We've seen so many laws go in and be overturned, and back and forth. uh, very, very quickly, but also over long periods of time. Roe v. Wade was just overturned, and and we're going through this period where effectively everything is melting away and falling away, kind of coming in on a collective level to that 0 point, so that it can be recreated in a new, better way for the changing of the ages. And if you um, shift more into esoterical views, we're shifting between the age of Aquarius and the age of Pisces, and on that even larger level, we're thought to be going into the golden age. And these are all different terms and different perspectives for what is happening. But I want you to understand, as much as we can explain it with terms that we know and terms that we accept within our, small communities, this is happening on a larger scale beyond our communities. And so Jessica's really talking to this because she's wanting us to understand that this is also happening for the birds as well as humans, but all the other species as well, right? And that extends far out into the universe. This is not something that is relegated to the planet Earth or the moon or even the United States. It goes in both directions, and it's an understanding too in that scale, because energy uh, lives in an environment of all existence. And what I mean by that, you can think of the example of a light bulb, right? If you turn a light on, it's not just on in like the corner where the lamp is, right? The whole room illuminates based on that one light being turned on or a candle being lit, right? What stops that energy from moving through would be something like a wall or whatnot. But even when you start to think about that, the wall is just absorbing that energy and then shifting it differently so it's not visible on the other side. That energy still exists regardless of whether or not you can see it. And so it's in understanding it's a, and that's really what's coming through here, is this understanding that even if you cannot see it, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And so an example would be like pandas or rhinos or some of these animals, right? I've never, seen a blue whale in person. I've never dove into the ocean and been like, oh, hey, cool, there's a giant whale right there. And even so, even if I've seen it once, I don't have to like constantly see the whale to believe the whale exists, right? There are so many things that I'm not actively seeing right here from this point of view that I don't stop believing that whales exist because I'm not actively seeing a whale, right? I also can believe that there's variations, right? So an example of that is like my earrings have snakes on them. Thank God there's not a snake in my apartment. I would be really upset if there was a snake in my apartment, to be honest. Um, but I believe earrings exist. I believe snakes exist. I don't believe they need to be right in front of me to think that they exist, right? And so there's this realm of non-existence. And what's fun about that is that it's in the way that we believe something exists, right? So much of this comes down to what your beliefs are, right? And so I believe there are things that exist that I am not aware of, right? And so I believe that there are, and I'm just kind of making examples up, right? I believe that there are types of animals that exist that I don't know that exist. Like an example, I just saw some post on Instagram. It's like the smallest fox in existence. It's so cute. It had like giant ears and um, yeah, it was adorable, right? So I until I saw a post, never knew what the smallest fox on our world that we believe is. Um, and I can also say similarly that, there's probably beings out in space that I have no awareness. I don't believe that space is empty. Like that seems kind of silly to me. What do you think? It just like, and honestly, put it into this perspective. Now we believe that the world is round and whole, and we have satellites and images from out in space, like looking at it. But once upon a time, most humans believed the world was flat and that at a certain point out in the ocean, it just dropped off and there was nothing else. There was nothing beyond what we could see. So I'm inviting you to believe that things exist that you have no awareness of. I'm inviting you to believe that things exist that you cannot see. I'm inviting you to believe that there are other realms of existence, of realities, of beings that live in those realms. And if you even just like imagine everything in your world, everything you can know, all of the people you know, all of the schools you've gone to, all of the nature you've experienced, all of the houses you've lived in, whether those are apartments or duplexes or, X, Y, and Z, high rises, RVs, maybe you just have a tent in the middle of the woods, whatever it is. If you can just start to do like a mental tally of all the things that you know and are awareness and have seen, even if it's, an image of something, even if you aren't seeing the real, you've never seen a panda in real life, if you've seen a pillow with a panda on it, like, do you believe that pandas exist? Yes, you probably do. Um, and so it's this understanding that of all the things that we can point to and believe in and say that they have an existence, there are infinitely expanded versions of other things that exist that you have no awareness of at all. And so that's where you want to come into this realm of non-existence. And I know I've talked about this a couple times now, the realm of non-existence. And it's not to say that the things in those realms truly don't exist. It's to say that me, and from my awareness, I have no proof that those things exist, right? And so I think we were talking on the episode about my grandfather, how he lives in the realm of non-existence because he's passed away and he's died and he no longer has a physical body. So he's non-existing because he's not physical. However, he still exists in my memory of who he is, right? And so all of a sudden, the pinch point for whether or not something exists in these definitions is whether or not they have a material form in front of you, right? So like this pillow exists. I can touch this pillow and feel this pillow and say, this is a pillow. Got it, right? These are earrings. Got it. Um, but I know that there are infinite numbers of pillows in this world alone, and that I sorry sorry, the cat just went. That what I'm saying is that there are infinite numbers of pillows out there, and I don't have to see all of the pillows to believe all of the pillows exist, right? And so similarly, kind of shifting this metaphor, I know that birds and squirrels and whatnot exist. I don't have to see every single bird to believe that there are other birds in existence, right? The power here is to understand that, and let's make it applicable, right? So if I wanted to move to Palm Springs, I'm just kind of making up examples. If I wanted to move to Palm Springs, even though I'm not actively moving there, I don't have an apartment picked out, I don't have movers scheduled, X, Y, and Z. If I wanted to do that, I am confident that I could call up some movers and move to Palm Springs and find an apartment and do that, within the month. If if I got on it, I could probably go find something right now and put a down payment on there and um, go do that, right? In this realm of infinite possibilities. Now, it's the same process, but I could also choose to move to Tucson or San Diego or LA or somewhere else, right? And it's roughly the same steps with a different location. And so I want you to start to kind of see the spectrum of it's almost like a tree, right? If you think of like a family tree, right? There are these trees of realities, right? So there's a whole tree of realities where I've moved to the Southwest, and there's a whole nother tree of of possibilities where I move to the Northeast of the US, right? Well, guess what? There's another one where I moved to Europe and another one where I moved to Mars, right? Mars is a good sized planet too. There's plenty of places I could live up there. Um, and it's this understanding that when you start to believe that spectrum, that little crack, that little flake of belief that you are moving, then all of a sudden it gets the gears going and there's all these other options. But it's when you make that concrete decision, right? In choosing that I'm moving to Palm Springs, I'm choosing not to move to Tucson or not to move to the Northeast or Mars or, these are kind of silly examples, right? The more fun that you have with this, the more um, educational be, the more you'll develop, because what you're actually kind of turning around to is that you have these desires, and in learning more about those desires, it gives you more opportunity to those infinite potentials. And so I know we talked earlier about hair color, right? So being blonde, I know that I'm not all these other hair colors. And choosing to move to Palm Springs, I'm choosing not to live anywhere else, right? And know too that under these examples, if I were to, dye my hair black and move to Palm Springs, well, the very next day I could dye my hair blue and move to the moon, right? Like there is nothing to say that you cannot consistently change again and again and again. And that's why it's so important to understand these iterations. No part of us is stagnant. No part of us is standing still. And I don't mean like physically standing still, right? You are inherently moving at all times. And I want you to embody that and have an awareness of that as being uh, part of your reality, right? And so on that very finite level, you can think of your heart beating and you breathing all the time and you're eating food and digesting and all of this. Your body is actively moving at all times, even in your sleep states, right? You might be moving less during certain times or moving more during others, but you are constantly in a state of change, in a state of movement, and it's so important to understand that because oftentimes we kind of um, we get down on ourselves and we feel like we're not changing or moving. And that is the uh, most detrimental belief that you can have. If you believe that things will not change, because they are. Change is constant, change is guaranteed, change is reality. And so if you can simply believe that, and you can believe, right? My parents have lived in the same house for some 30 years or something. You can believe in change and also choose to stay the same. I think that's one of the most powerful things is where what aspects you choose to stay the same in, right? I choose to be a very loyal person. I do not want to be an unloyal person, and I am choosing to stay the same in that way. And uh, and again, going back to that life review exercise, definitely take some time to really observe your patterns, observe your behaviors, observe your beliefs, and choose to observe what you want to to stay the same and what you want to change. And the reality is that you don't have to go out tomorrow and move and dye your hair and all these things. But if you've been thinking about making some changes, tomorrow is a great day to do them, right? Today is a great day to do them. And when you start to think of it from that like manifestation perspective, I want you to understand that all these things exist. All of the potentials are in existence in another reality somewhere out there. But the truth is that if you want to embody those changes, if you want that change to exist within yourself, you simply need to realign to that reality and let it happen, let it occur, let it come to fruition. So I'm very excited that Lolita introduced us to her friend Jessica, and they're showing me too kind of these. I know we talked about the trees and I guess we didn't openly talk about the ley lines, but ley lines are sometimes called crystal grids or energetic grids. Um, are these ideas that um, there's kind of these energetic highways where messages and information can be passed more strongly and easily. And so it's an understanding that sometimes, if you're getting these calls to go places, it's so that you can, that place is more amenable to receiving information or energetic downloads in some way. And so that's why Jessica really just wants to like double down and hone in and make sure that you are all aware of how important it is to really follow your intuition and to follow those desires. Because more often than not, the same way we're always manifesting, we're always aware of our intuition. I always have, and you can think of it like smelling, right? I'm always smelling and tasting, even though my brain says, well, it's just there's nothing changing in your environment, right? So there's nothing to smell, but really what we're saying is there's no change to be aware of, right? As soon as something's burning or the neighbors are cooking really good food, that's when I smell something. But the reality is that I'm smelling all the time. My brain only connects it when there's a change in the smell that I'm expecting. So understand that oftentimes we're not aware of things until there's a change to be aware of. So if you, and this is too why those dark nights in our journey are so important. When we have something that maybe traditionally we would call negative occur, more often than not, that's just kind of a shake-up or a spark to bring our awareness to that area so that we can improve it. It's not meant to hurt us in some way. It's meant for our growth. It's very beautiful, and you can think too, like almost like a paper cut, right? Your body is actively regenerating itself, but until you have that paper cut is when it goes and heals itself. But the reality is that you aren't sitting there and being like, oh my God, okay, I need to spend 20 minutes today talking to my cut and telling it to heal itself. No, you just like kind of clean it up, leave it alone, don't pick at your scabs. It'll be fine, right? And so know that this stuff is happening naturally. It's not that you have to go out and do something, but bring some awareness around what you're currently doing. And in being more aware and observatory of what is currently existing, it really allows you to change the things you want to change and to also retain what you want to retain. Okay, so we're coming to our final moments. I am so grateful for Miss Jessica Finch. Kind of the final message she wants to leave us with is about speaking up. And so I'll go through our links again, and then we'll just kind of wrap up after there. So again, if you want to have a one-on-one session with me, go to roseco.co or calendly.com/rosecomposite. out there on social media, Ali Rose 359 for Instagram and YouTube, and Rose Composite for Facebook. Generally, I'm mostly on Instagram and YouTube. On Instagram, I just share things I like. um, where on YouTube you'll find more videos like this and some interaction with me. So do, and please sign up for the email list. That's where you can get the latest and greatest. If you like, those will be where I'm at in person events, any kind of special offerings, especially 'tis the season. Make sure to join that because there are going to be some opportunities for free sessions and things like that, if you so desire. This is Ask Alicia. This is the recorded version. It's just me talking with spirits. But if you want to join our live discussion group, that is third Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Again, you can go to roseco.co or calendly.com/rosecomposite to sign up for those. And do know those usually have guest speakers. So we've got some really fun psychics and mediums and tarot readers coming up, some energy healers as well. So if you go either to the website or on those email lists, you'll see the latest and greatest of who's presenting every month. And yeah, I think that's it for now. We are coming out, just a little heads up, we're coming out with some subscription programs, so that should be fun. You can attend some of the discussion groups and also do some one-on-ones for a better price. We're always really wanting people to, have access to this information. Is the primary goal. So if that's ever an issue, please just reach out and let me know. We can certainly work something out. And without further ado, Miss Jessica Finch is going to share her final messages with us. She is like really beautifully speaking to like how birds chirp and they share their messages and their songs pretty consistently. And she's wanting to just remind us to share our own songs openly. And she's saying, and I'm so blessed. I live near where she lives, so I get to hear her songs fairly regularly. But she wants us to be encouraged, both that she doesn't sing so that I'll hear it. She'll sing no matter what. And if someone's walking by, they may hear her song too. And she wants us to know that it is our duty to sing. It is our duty to express ourselves and be our best selves and live in our own light. And it's a blessing when that intersects with other people and when we're able to share our divine gratitude in that way. However, we are not doing this for other people. We're not doing it for the validation of other people. It is for ourselves. It is the joy that it brings us. And sure, it's so wonderful to share that joy with other people. And I'm so grateful you're watching this and allowing me this platform to do what I do best in front of an audience. However, know that, I do this in and out most of the day. I'm not, I'm not only doing this when it's recorded. And she really wants to inspire you to do your thing regardless of who sees or understands it in whatever way, because it is always for you personally. It's not for others. And that's what's so important too about wanting that change, that manifestation. If you are wanting to manifest things, you really have to deeply align with your own soul's desires and your own truths. Otherwise, you will be unsuccessful because it is not aligned with your energy. It must be aligned with your energy. You must get into that 0 point of neutrality in order to see those shifts occur in your outward world. And it's in knowing yourself so wholeheartedly that you know that you are not any of these other infinite possibilities, and also to have that understanding that you can change. You can have different identities and different points of your life. So if there are identities or identifiers that are no longer serving your highest good, let them leave, let them go. It is, and I joke with people all the time, you are saying no to most things. I am saying no to every other color of hair and saying yes to being blonde, right? And again, this is our tiny little metaphor, that if you think of that in a broader respect, you're saying no to every other possibility and saying yes to yourself. And so just um, please prioritize yourself. Please follow your own desires and your own loves, because it's not for anybody else. This whole life is for you, and honor yourself in that way. And so with that, I honor Jessica Finch. I thank you all for visiting and for watching this video. And please reach out if you have questions. And so excited to see you again in the future. Lots of love. Bye now.